a new show we got going on American Hammers Network, on American Hammers TV. It's American Hammers TV Top 10 show. And for our debut Top 10 show, don't mind the messy hair here, it's basically about West Ham frauds or busts. I've heard both terms. I know some people, as soon as they hear the word fraud, they think of owners or managers or whatever. But we're trying, for this episode, I mean, those are the elephants in the room. And those are the people that, we all know who those are, But when it comes down to players, there's so many different players that could fit into this category. And what we thought would be fun is to try to compile, as a collective three here for the evening, a top 10 of, I guess, of all time, even though, I don't know how far we're going to be able to go back. But the criteria for this is there had to be hype around the player. There had to be hype coming into West Ham. We had to have spent some money on this player too. I mean, I'm not talking about getting a deal on Emmanuel Pogatetz and bringing him in for no money and then calling him a bust. I'm talking about maybe someone like Andy Carroll, who we paid a shit ton of money for. And how many games did he play for the club? About as many as Winston Reid. So that type of thing. So there's a lot of players still that fit into that criteria. But I think for the most part, it's, did they have hype coming in? And obviously the more hype the player had coming in and the shittier they did, well, the higher I guess they would go up the totem pole. So that said, my co-host for the evening, we have the infamous Wally World from Twitter and everywhere else you find him. Wally, what's going on, Woody?
Good, not much. How are you? Good.
Fantastic, my man.
Just down in Philly over the great time in the Stowe's Bar in Philly with a lot of hammers. So anyway.
And they should, this upcoming weekend, they should probably, tell people to come on down if they're in the area.
Yeah.
So I think it's on 3rd and Market, right? Somewhere around there?
Yeah. It's like 3rd and Market, downtown Philadelphia, Stowe's Bar. Hammers shots when they score, which is hammer shot is some, special concoction they have there.
Yeah.
It tastes like medicine and it's good stuff. But anyway, it's a fun time. So.
Yeah, no, great people. I can also attest to that. Great people.
Yeah.
I went to DC this weekend and had an amazing time with those people. I heard a lot of great things from many different hammers across the country that have visited there. But I get to see it firsthand, and sure enough, great people, great fun. You got Lucas giving bear hugs after a goal. It's a big dude, awesome dude, Lucas. I got to meet our one of our co-hosts of American Hammers Radio, Zach, who co-hosted an interview for us last night, and I got to meet Kostya and the infamous Sam, who is one of the coolest, sweetest people you ever meet down there, and Steve, some of the founders of that group, and it was just an amazing time. I can't say nothing bad about it. It was just fantastic. So that said, we got Jay from Iowa, our good friend Jay, who's been on many different shows of ours, and we thought that, we need someone with some solid knowledge, when it comes down to these type of things, and who likes to research. So I thought that Jay was a perfect fit for this type of format. And not calling you a fraud, just or a bust, but
a little bit.
No, but anyway, I thought you'd be, I thought you'd have all the answers for us, and me and Wally could just sit back and watch.
Perfect.
The floor is yours, Jay.
Excellent. Certainly, considering your criteria, and we would certainly have to say, I mean, based solely for me, there's a lot of recency bias.
Yeah.
We've signed some players recently that don't pan out, so I don't know if we'd consider some of those, or there might be players that we forget, that we don't mention, just strictly because they are so, potentially even just out of our wheelhouse, or we don't think of them in that way. I was able to drum up a couple from the 90s, but before that, I think it's a little harder to do.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. I wasn't sure how far we'd be able to go back, just because, the relevancy of fees as well. Like, what was a big splash back in the 80s or 70s or whatnot, compared to like the hype, and was there hype back then? I mean, what was hype like? I mean, it's not like it is today with social media and whatnot, or really since the mid 90s. So yeah, I guess it might be a more rather recent list, but at the same time, all the response that we got from everybody on social media who were giving us their opinions on who should be in this list, they were fairly, mid 90s to or early 90s to now, recent, as recent as I guess Zaza, I think was the most recent one. I
Probably.
think. Yeah. I mean, Andy Carroll was with us more recently, but I mean, he was thrown in there too. But the most recent signing, I would say, on the list that I've seen was Zaza. But anyway, let's start off with you, Jay. Like, let's just throw. So basically, everybody in the chat room right now, I do see some people in the chat room. Also, anybody else who's just watching and not chatting, feel free to throw some names in the chat box. As Jay's naming off some, I'll scratch them off, the social media list here, and I'll, we'll chime in thereafter. So Jay, you get the floor.
Yeah, the two older ones that first came to mind when you kind of threw it out there were Marco Boogers, which everyone knows, Marco Boogers, who came to us signed on a. The rumor is, or the story is, came to us signed by a videotape that Harry Redknapp saw. He was the third top scorer in the Eredivisie that season. Came on in his first match, got a red card minutes into the match for a bad tackle on Gary Neville, I believe. And maybe featured a couple more times and then was never seen again. So that's Marco Boogers. The other one, the one that I think is, well, Marco Boogers may be a little more infamous. The one that I think maybe has a bit more, in my mind at least, the one that when I think about, I think like, man, he was bad. We signed from Liverpool, TT Camara.
Yeah, that one came up.
He came from Liverpool, hadn't scored a ton, but had a decent return. I think maybe 18 goals in 30 games. I could be wrong. And it was considered kind of an exciting signing, and went on to play 14 games for us and never score a single goal. And in his interview said, "I'm not here to collect money. I'm not here for the paycheck. I'm only here to score goals." So he did more of the latter than the former, or did more of the former than the latter.
Yeah.
So those are the two older ones. But more recently, I mean, probably. And I mean, it would be hard in my mind to knock him off at number one, but Savio, right? Like,
that seems to be, I guess, the survey says Savio. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, so far, every form of social media that we posted this question on, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, the overwhelming number one answer was Savio. I mean, the most common answer, I'd say. Yeah.
And we had sold Craig Bellamy for £10 million to City and bought him from Italy, club record signing, and went on to have very little impact. We sold him off, and and I mean, definition of fraud, he defrauded his family by faking his own kidnapping. So
yeah.
I mean, literally has committed fraud.
Yeah. So yeah, I think almost by default he might be number one on the list. That's crazy. I completely forgot about that. I remember hearing that, but that's nuts. A couple of the other ones. I'm just gonna in between. I mean, I'm gonna ask Wally next, but I'm in between. I'm gonna mention just a couple from each form of social media here that keep popping up, like Tristan, Diego Tristan.
Okay.
Zaza keeps coming up. Danny, yeah, Danny, man. That's been coming up a couple times, man. That's crazy.
People liked Danny.
Well, that's the thing, is that I guess they're looking at value and longevity versus, okay, so the time period that they were here, what did they actually do other than score maybe like 4 goals, I think.
Okay.
Didn't he have like 4 goals in that time period? It was something like that. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And the time period that they were there, like another one that I was thinking of was, what about Robbie Keane, man? Like,
Yeah.
or what about? I mean, I know there wasn't so much hype around him because he was at the end of his career pretty much, even though he went on to play another 25 years. Joking, and
Pretty close.
yeah, but stuff like that. Like we needed someone to come in and really do some damage, and we are like, holy crap, that it's him. He's got some clout behind him. I'm not saying he would make my top 10. I'm just saying that someone like that. Like what about Demba Ba? Actually, he did score. He scored half the goals. I mean, he scored half the amount of goals as he played games. So never mind.
Yeah,
just stuff like that.
I don't know if that he'd make those, but certainly Robbie Keane. I mean, if you're considering loan signings, maybe he wouldn't. Loan signings maybe don't count, but there's one loan signing that I certainly think would have to make the list. I don't know. I know Wally's next, certainly with a couple, but
yeah, Wally, what do you got?
Well, I could speak for more of the recent time frame since I've been following, and well, if you're talking about biggest busts, I would have to say Karen Brate. No,
yeah, no. That's a different show. We'll do that show sometime.
Yeah, right.
We will.
Yeah. So I remember recently, like that guy Arbeloa. He came on board and he was supposed to be like Champions League, and he was going to solve our right back problem that we were having. We were putting Antonio in there, and he came in. I remember Mark Noble said, he came in. He was the fittest guy. He was in great shape when he came in, and then he just petered out. I remember there was one game he like refused to play. Even I think they wanted him to come on, and he just didn't want to come on. So there was him. Now, I don't think we paid a transfer fee for him. I think he was, older, and therefore he was on a free.
I think it was a free, yeah.
Yeah. But also, when you talk
about... I mean, it's a fraud. I mean, it's still technically a fraud.
Oh,
because
yeah. He must have been...
There was hype built around him,
Yeah, a big paycheck probably, or a decent paycheck. And he did nothing for us. And then in the light of the Savio item with the fraud, enter Valencia, right? He wasn't he playing for Ecuador? Am I imagining this? And they were trying to arrest him, and the cops were at the field, and they were trying to arrest him for like not paying his
I forgot about that.
Yeah, just okay. And he came off. They subbed him off, and he ran off the pitch and ran right through the tunnel. Does this sound familiar?
Okay, I missed that one. Wow.
Yeah, I think he ran down the tunnel and the police were after him and everything. It was hilarious.
That's crazy.
I think that was Enter Valencia. But anyway, he was a big transfer fee, and he didn't. He was pretty lightweight and got pushed around a lot and didn't do a whole lot for us. I don't think.
That first season he was on fire. He kind of figured out. But that first season, him and Saka tore defenses apart.
Yeah. But they couldn't make up their mind if they were going to play one or two. And which one. And then Saka would always get pissy about.
Oh right.
Yeah, I love Saka, man. I thought he was great.
That's good. Yeah, people in the chat. I'm sorry, in the chat room, they're saying, he was owed his child support, and he ran off through the fans so the police couldn't get him.
That's crazy.
He was a fast guy. It'd be hard to catch him on.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Someone else mentioned a little bit earlier than that about Andy Carroll in the chat room too. But I also started off with it really. This one is one that frustrates me a lot, and I kind of want to touch about this because, we needed a big dude when we signed him, and we needed a marquee signing really at that stage. We needed to show that we had some ambition at that point, even though we didn't really have much money to do so. So we signed that weird ass loan deal where it was like $2 million down and like $15 million in the future, and to buy potentially if we stayed up and shit, like I don't know, something like that. But at the same time, he scored 6 goals in 44 appearances for Liverpool. I mean, that's a horrible record.
Yeah.
So horrible. That's his most current experience coming in. And I
He's
mean,
probably their biggest bust, to be honest.
oh, big time. And they spent way more money than we did.
Yeah. We got him half price, I think.
We did. Yeah. And that's still a lot of
Which
money,
is
though.
still a
And,
lot.
he in that first season, he scored 7 and 24 when he was on loan with us. So he scored one more goal in like half the appearances that he had at Liverpool.
And had some good assists. There was a game against Fulham where I don't think he scored, but he set up all 3 goals. Like, he really contributed in that first season. And someone mentioned, I think it was Stop Hammer Time a couple years back. That like when it became apparent he wasn't going to get called up by England, he like stopped playing.
Yeah. But the whole point is that there was all this hype around him, but it didn't make much sense because he didn't do jack shit for Liverpool. Like they were talking about, like that's his Newcastle days. Oh, this is Andy Carroll. Andy Carroll's a superstar. I'm like, but he just did jack shit in Liverpool. Like, what's all the hype about? Anyway,
and we were linked with Wilfred Boney that summer.
Oh, geez, there's another one.
Got him, and he got 20 goals.
Can he make the list? Even though he didn't play, we were linked to him. But once Andy Carroll signed the big deal, once we actually got him officially, is when he showed his true colors. And this is something that I want to divert to just for a few minutes that I keep forgetting to discuss on any of our other shows. Is what are your thoughts on player injuries? And when you have someone like Andy Carroll, for example, how true are these injuries? And when you had Samir Nasri last season, when we had him briefly, but then he get upset with somebody in training and decides that he doesn't want to play now. He's pouting, so he has a calf strain. How are these injuries like cover up sometimes? You know what I mean? I don't mean to be like, I don't know, what do you call it, paranoid or anything like that. But I'm just saying, what do you think the percentage is of actual truth? I mean, there is of truth to these injuries of some of these players, especially Andy Carroll, who's young. He's a beast. And I highly doubt he was injured half the time he was injured. He just doesn't like to fucking play.
Some of the talk about Sturridge, and I've heard it mentioned on a couple different like shows. They would always say with Sturridge, he might have been fit to play, but he didn't want to play unless he was 100% fit. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep,
and
I've heard that
I always
before.
kind of felt it was the same way with Andy Carroll. Like he could play, he's at 90%. He could play, but he doesn't want to play until he's 100%. He doesn't want to play until he's truthfully feels like he's at his peak. And sometimes, no, you need to be played. Like you need to get out there and
but
do
that's
something.
anybody. There's nobody that's 100%. And Jack Collison said that on our show, and he said it, a bunch of other times as well. He said that, I think it was the season that they before his injury in the that sidelined him for most of the relegated season, right? So it was 2009, 2010 season, right? He said since that season, he'd never been higher than 80%, ever. He'd always been playing at like 40, 50, 60% because he wanted to play. When he could play, and he could judge, okay, well, I'm only 40%, but maybe I can get, 60 minutes, or something like that. You get a good, run in and not hurt the team type of deal. So, I hear all the time with other players, like there was an interview with Lee Cattermole saying the same thing, that he was never 100% either. He was just out, but he's out there being a maniac, right. Because he wants to play the game. He wants to win. He's competitive, and you got these other people that are they that competitive? Clearly not. I don't know. Just one of those things. Because there was a couple other players that we had that are going to be on this list that I suspect that they're just faking injuries, man. I don't like that. That's what I also consider a fraud, even though that's not part of the criteria. But anyway.
And what happened when Jack Wilshere pulled up last season, 4 games into the season or whatever, injured? Everyone's reaction, oh, who could have seen this coming? And it's like, well, yeah, but when you're signing players, you got to look at injury history. You've got to do a bit. I sometimes
Transfer market, man. Come on. Transfermarket.com, dude.
Yeah. And they've probably got better resources than that, hopefully. So.
No, I hope so. But you never know. I mean, there's a lot of these junk sites out there too.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes if they're having like some kind of internal suspensions or something.
Well, that could be.
I
didn't even think of that.
For misconduct, or like John Black in the chat room is saying maybe there's like drink issues with Andy Carroll, and
I can see that.
So maybe
they've let 800 other 1,000 players play with that in the history of football. Somebody mentioned Jose Font, man. Nobody mentioned him on the list at all on any of the social media posts that I had. Did he have hype? I mean, he was old. We did pay a chunk of money for him.
Yeah, and he was the captain of Southampton when he left mid-season. Yeah, and he still plays for Portugal, I think.
Yeah, and it won the French Cup last season with oh man, I'm gonna mess it up. Either Reims or Lens or one of those clubs, wherever he's playing currently.
Yeah.
It's a shame Lee's not here. He'd probably be able to tell us.
Oh, he'd tell us. I tried, man. He said we're doing the show too early, and I told him, well, it's Mondays, and we never do it at 9. But anyway,
no worries.
I thought it'd be great to have the four of us in here, and but honestly, I don't know how much we get to talk. I love Lee, though.
Fine with me. Yeah.
Lee knows that. But no, Font, and then we paid a lot of money for him, though, right? It was like 12 and a half.
Part of the Payet money.
Really?
Yeah, like half, like 2/3 of it went to Snodgrass and 1/3 of it went to Font or something like that. So
wow.
We played I think we paid close to like 10 million for him or something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was really close to what we sold James Tompkins for. Drink. We sold him for 12.5 million. I thought it was about the same, somewhere around there. But yeah, I know that 10 sounds about right. Maybe I'm thinking euro. I don't know. Yeah. So someone else mentioned Ashley Fletcher. There's another one.
Oh, I remember him. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. There was much hype. I mean, he was the reason we got him is because
there was a little bit of hype. There was. Yeah, there was some hype, but I wouldn't say a lot.
He was like supposed to be our Rashford, basically. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work
out. That's a good one. I love that. Yeah, that makes me laugh every time. Now, Ravel Morrison, man. No one mentioned him at all. Would you consider him a fraud or definitely a bust, right? Definitely a bust?
Yeah, definitely a bust. Certainly not a fraud, but definitely a bust.
Just because they have a few key goals doesn't mean that and there's a few other people on this list too that have done like some game winners for us, but literally that's all they did. He didn't really do much else other than score a few goals for us, right? It wasn't a whole hell of a lot. He didn't have a 10-goal season, play 30 games, right?
He was. Yeah, he had so much promise, and I mean, was a beautiful player on his day. I mean, everyone's favorite player when he played, but he just, I think his personality got in the way. There was a interview with Nolan or Noble, and they were talking about how like there was one. It was maybe pre-season. No, I think it was like a cup game. He came on, scored a winner, and like Nolan and Noble were like bigging him up like on the team bus on the way home. And like blah blah blah, and then he didn't show up to training the next 3 days.
That's that does sound about right. Yeah, he scored. He scored 3 goals in 18 appearances with us over 3 years. That's because he was obviously in that 3-year period he was loaned out a couple times while he was still under contract. So that's a bust, man. Right? I mean. So fraud, same thing. I mean, yeah.
A couple I thought of. Joey Beauchamp, however you want to pronounce it.
Beauchamp.
We signed him, and he got homesick before he even played a game for us, and went off to Birmingham, went off to Aston Villa. And then another one, not a signing, but Joe Hart, right? Like came in England's number one, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
And we felt like we had to play him because he was, some marquee player, and he just wasn't working out for us.
Lost his spot to Randolph, and then lost his spot to Adrian, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pronounce his name Beecham, and I can't believe that. I can't believe that happened. Wow, we signed 1.2 million. Wow,
this was in the early 90s. I
94.
think. So, that was a lot of money.
94 and 1.2 million in 1994. He said he couldn't stand the traffic traveling from Oxford each day. And
I could agree.
a mere 58 days later, he was signed by Swindon for £800,000. Wow. But we got Adrian Whitbread out of the deal. So, yeah, didn't do much. Anyway, what else? Someone else mentioned, the Allardyce years where, the Razvan Rats and the, Emmanuel Pogatats and stuff like that. I just think that, shit, what about Joey O'Brien? Just kidding. I know some people that I love my Joey O'Brien, man. Yeah, no, I think any Allardyce signing really needs to be taken with a grain of salt because it's just opposite ends of the spectrum. I mean, you understand why he signed someone like a Nolan, or he brings in he brought in some decent strikers, man. I'm telling you, he tried with Andy Carroll. We thought he had something there. Ender Valencia and Sacco. You know what I mean? Like those are good players. Even though some people will say that the club brought in Sacco, right? Is that what it was? A Sacco or Valencia that the club was supposedly brought in? It wasn't.
Sacco was brought in by David Sullivan, supposedly.
Over
Sam's head.
Yeah, and Sacco was a damn good signing.
Yeah,
he was effective, man. I
think he was pretty inexpensive too.
He was
somewhere in there, 5 or 8, between 5 and 8. I thought it was something cheap.
There was a Reddit post about him, and everyone was kind of like overreacting to Diafra Sacco, and I think my comment was something along the lines of, he seems like he'll be our Ricky Lambert, but I don't think he'll score that many goals. Like I don't think he'll score as many goals as Ricky Lambert did for Southampton, and I mean scored in his first 8 games or something like that, like some ridiculous stat, like.
That's so funny if you really think about it. We were linked with so many players that ended up doing jack shit. But at the time, they were the big names. Like you just mentioned, Ricky Lambert. Yep. What about Charlie Austin, man? What about these other players that turned us down? Didn't want to play for Sam or Village. I mean, names that were massive goal scorers for their other clubs. And then they went, and then they went on to play for Liverpool and Southampton and everything else and did jack shit. That's so funny. Wow. I was bummed, man, when we didn't sign, Lambert or Austin, man. I thought we needed someone like that, but I'm so glad we didn't, I guess. What else we got? Name some more names on your list there before we get cracking into trying to figure out who the top 10 is.
Well, okay, I have one that Lee pointed out, and I'm really curious why. He says Freddie Sears. And that's whose jersey I got here. So I hope he wasn't a bust,
He said that?
Yeah, he said that in his list he sent.
What?
Freddie Sears may be the biggest bust of all compared to the hype.
He's grounded. That's it. I'm going to go call his house and have his kids put him to bed because it's past his bedtime. That's crazy.
Good. I feel better because I bought his jersey in the auction in Vegas. So.
Well, we didn't really spend any money on him, did we? I mean,
no,
he was Academy, right?
Yeah, I looked him up. He's from the Academy. Yeah.
So I guess Academy players, could fall into the category of bust, but
he didn't cost us anything. So.
No, Reece Oxford did though, and that did come a few times on a few people's lists.
Well, I think in the same respect as Reece Oxford, I do think that Freddie Sears scored that match winner against Blackburn, and then they gave him like a massive deal. I think it was a similar deal to the Reese Oxford thing. So that, but I don't know that it was Freddie Sears. I don't know that it was Freddie Sears kicking up a fuss the way that Reese Oxford.
I don't think so. No, we didn't read about it. We didn't hear about it.
Oh no, you're the next big thing, and they just threw money at him. And I mean, if you're 18 years old or whatever, who are you to turn down? You know,
no, correct. Correct. I mean, he everywhere he's gone, he's proven that he can play games. He's a hustler. He's a hard worker, but the talent's just not there. I mean, he wasn't a Premier League striker. I mean, he struggled in League One with Colchester. He struggled in League Two even, and he struggled in Championship with Ipswich. You know, oh look who decides to show up.
Right on time.
Right on time. I was about to call you kids and have them put you to bed for telling someone that Freddie Sears is a bust. Get out of here.
Freddie Sears. That's in your list.
Though. He was.
No, he was. No.
How wasn't he? He was.
How wasn't he? There was how much? I mean, was there really that much hype that he was going to be the next Maradona or Dean Ashton?
It was after he scored in his debut. I think it was against Bolton or Blackburn. I think it was against Bolton.
Blackburn.
Was okay. I always get the B clubs mixed up anyway. So
there's a lot of them.
There is.
We always lose to them, so we don't beat them anyway. No, there was a huge amount of hype. I mean, there was. He was an academy grad, and he had this great debut goal, and then I think he only scored one other goal for West Ham, and then he sort of disappeared from the Premiership altogether. So,
but Sam Allardyce had that effect on many, many, many people.
No, that's more Allardyce.
No, he went out to loan. He didn't go out on loan. He didn't even leave the club until Sam Allardyce came along. And then Sam Allardyce finally said, "See you later, bye-bye."
Even under Kerbishley, I mean, he didn't really perform. I mean, he just didn't. He had that one great goal, and then he sort of never, he sort of never came back.
Okay, so him or Oxford?
Oh, I think Oxford's a bigger bust. I mean, Oxford had a lot more hype around Oxford, I think, than there was around Freddie Sears. Freddie Sears just scored a great debut goal.
So here's where we're at, Lee. All right, I'm gonna do about 10 more minutes on just throwing out more names and discussing them because it's my fault. I kind of diverted a few times and went into different topics, but they're semi-related. Anyway, we're gonna finish the show like the last 15 minutes of the show. We're going to focus on compiling a top 10 as a collective. So we each have to argue if we don't feel, that's right. We've mentioned a bunch of names already. But yeah, let's just keep on going. So I feel like there's a lot more. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull up Twitter real quick and mention the 8 million. The biggest responses on Twitter. Also got a few negative posts about this idea for a show saying how negative. Yeah, like, wow, I don't want to start off a show so negative. Why are you being so negative? I'm like, that's like calling the kettle black? Like someone from Twitter, negative land, calling my post something negative?
No, I mean, seriously, it's just an idea to talk about West Ham in another way, right? You can talk about the 10 best players we've had in the last 15 or 20 years. Well, maybe we'll do that show, one of these nights too. But
we're going to. I mean, so basically Monday nights from now on, Lee, are going to be the top 10 show. Right. So every week is going to be something different, And also in a debate, our debate show, the OG debate on Wednesdays, we're going to, probably get into that as well, like something more positive. But yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Where's this?
I think you have to label Freddie Sears as a bust. The only reason he's less of a bust than other players is because he did come through the academy. We didn't buy him from anybody else.
No, we made a bit of money off him too.
Yeah, well, to me, a bust means generally speaking, it's somebody who was not on loan, didn't come on a free. Like we paid for him, put him on a long-term contract, brought him in, and he was terrible. That to me is like Savio was a bust. Amalfitano was a bust. Zaza obviously was a bust. I'm sure you've mentioned all these guys already.
Oh, Amalfitano.
I thought Amalfitano was
good. Lee. Jesus. Did he score a few bangers for us too?
I don't know. I don't remember him. I mean, unless
we didn't spend that whole time. Did we get him on a free? Did we spend money?
I didn't. think so, but I could be wrong because I looked at a lot of players today and I've gotten a lot of them mixed up.
Amalfitano scored like a match winner against City. Like,
I know he did a couple like nasty goals. Yeah, like rocket. I know he had like at least one nasty rocket too.
Yeah.
So basically, Savio is probably the number one answer. I mean, only for the fact that we're not even there yet, but I'm just saying on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, I posted, that we're doing the show tonight. Give us your thoughts, everybody. And almost everybody says Savio. Like, it was one name, they said Savio.
I'm wrong about Amalfitano. He scored. He was on a 1-year deal. I thought he was on a
Norvite maybe.
But never mind. He was fine. But Savio is the textbook answer to this question to me. I mean, Savio is like the number one right answer.
My criteria was a little more general, even though I like your criteria. But the criteria is basically, it's fraud or bust. Really, it's just a matter of. It's all about hype, though. I mean, before they came to West Ham, that's the key.
Yeah.
Right, coming into West Ham, did they have hype coming in? And we thought, us fans, the supporters, everybody, thought that he was going to be something amazing, and then they absolutely dudded. You know what I mean? So that's the main criteria.
Have you talked about Ravel Morrison?
Yes, we did briefly.
Because
Jay sounded like he a little hesitant at first about that.
He had the hat trick against Spurs, but did a hat trick against Spurs, or was it a brace?
Oh, he just had like the third goal. He had that goal where he like sprinted the length of the pitch.
I thought he scored all three for some reason. It was just that one.
Yeah,
but that wasn't a great goal.
One because I had him in my fantasy team that week.
Okay. that's the goal I remember. Was the 3-0, 4-0 away against Spurs when Allardyce didn't have a striker.
3-0. Yeah.
4-6-0.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And it worked. But I mean, you have to say that his attitude was, not great, and he could have been a great player, period. He never turned out to be a great player for anybody, us or anybody else, because he just didn't have the right attitude.
Rogers Johnson's come up a few times.
Rogers, the relegator.
Yeah, the relegator.
Everybody knew he sucked, though, right? Who thought he was going to be any good? You know what I mean?
That's the thing. That's the point. Is that hype? Now, this was something that I don't know who I was discussing with. I think maybe Jay, like off the air. I think we were discussing this beforehand. Julian Faubert, right? Now, was there hype coming into us? Did we spend a lot of money for him, or was it just when we loaned him to Real Madrid, there was this weird hype?
That was more my thought, was like he defrauded Real Madrid by.
He did defraud them, so he's a freaking fraud. But I love him though. He's one of my favorite like shitty players ever. He's like probably my favorite shittiest player.
I have a soft spot.
I love watching him hustle, man. He was a gazelle, dude. I loved him.
The only time I ever went to the Berlin, he set up Carlton Cole's goal, which was our second goal against Birmingham that night. So I have no problem with Faubert on a personal level. He made 89 appearances for us. I don't know. I mean,
he didn't score jack shit, but again, he was up and down the whole right side. Like he played
did he score that cracker?
Attack mid. Huh?
Or did he score the cracker against Millwall, or what? Did he tackle the keeper? I don't remember. How that worked out.
I don't remember, but he's forever in my heart, man. I follow him on Instagram. Yeah, he's on Instagram. He's always posting stuff over there. You should check it out. He's still playing.
He's still playing.
In some Indonesian country or something.
Yep.
So Freddie Lundberg keeps coming up. Kieran Dyer also.
I think he's in France.
That's the reason why I brought up injuries earlier, and the fake injuries and stuff like that. So Kieran Dyer, that's another one that we lost.
Kieran Dyer's a big bust.
Really perform, due to injuries.
Jugendberg too. Jugendberg, to be fair, got injured, but he was kind of past it. He was a little bit past it anyway, but he did get injured as well. Kieran Dyer was a really good player for us, like the 5 matches when he played.
We were talking about, what Jack Collison had told us, where he played, since the 2009-2010 season at no higher than 80%.
Yep.
He was no higher than that. He played at 40, 30, 50, 60% the majority of his career.
Yeah, he did.
And same thing with, I read an interview with Lee Cattermole, said the same thing. Like he said, he was never fully fit, but he was out there like a maniac because he was competitive and he wanted to win always. Whether it worked or not, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. So we're talking about players that are missing games. I mentioned Nasri last year with his, calf strains. Really? calf strain.
No, it's a good point.
You know what
Listen,
I'm saying? Well, we heard you got in an argument in freaking training, and next thing you know, you have your calf strain.
yeah,
Pull
no,
the calf in an argument.
there
Like,
were guys.
wow.
I know that Lanzini's injury was extremely severe. Not this most recent one he just came back from, but the one he had last season. We know that was a terrible injury. We know some of these guys had terrible injuries, but you'd have to question. I mean, listen, I hate to question anybody's effort. I'm not an athlete. I don't know what it's like to have that kind of strain on my body. But as you said, Jack would go out and play when he was 60%, 70%. I think a lot of players do. And yet we had guys. I mean, you wonder about Andy Carroll. You know.
Yeah. That's what I was
all
talking
the
about.
time.
Yeah.
You know.
So
I kind of think of him as, even though he scored some great goals for us and he played for us for a long time, I sort of think of him as a bust on the whole, because that guy, there was an enormous amount of hype when he came in. And,
we'll get to that. I got to get through a few more names because we're running out of time. So Freddie Piccione, we got, you know what? Now that I'm scrolling through Twitter, Jay, I see TD Camara coming up a lot.
Yeah.
And 3XL shorts. Now, Marco Boogers, that's coming up a lot. Florin Radichoyu. Yeah, Benny McCarthy. That's one that's popped up all over social media.
But did we
I was going to say the guy who ate himself out of a contract.
Yeah.
Did we think Benny McCarthy was going to be good, though? Wasn't he older by then anyway? Wasn't he getting?
He came in as one of those three strikers. It was him, Mito, and Ilan.
Ilan, yeah.
Came in on the last day, and it was like, oh, these guys are going to score us goals, and Ilan was the only one that did.
Ilan was not bad, actually. He was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked Ilan.
He keeps popping up as well, though, and same thing with Mito and Robbie Keane actually did come up a couple times. I was shocked about that. Gary Breen has popped up quite a few times.
Robbie Keane we knew he was at the end of his career. The desperation move in a relegation season.
Basically, Glen Raiders' whole shopping that summer. So David James, Repka, and Hutchinson. After we sold Frank Lampard Jr.
What about Andre Ayew? He was our record signing there. And
yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is Billich's fault, and I'm not going to let anybody hold that against him because he was phenomenal. He scored goals, and he would have scored a whole hell of a lot more if Billich
was he phenomenal? Really? I don't remember his being.
Absolutely, dude. Nobody can score goals beautiful as Andre Ayew, man. I'm telling you right now. Oh man, it's so gorgeous. It's just the thing is that everybody else around him was always in the wrong position because Billich loved to play people out of position, and there was never a comfort zone for anybody. So Ayew did the best that he could. You cannot hold that against him. And also, if anybody says Wellington Paulista, I'll slap you right now because he never got the chance. He was banging in headers and goals, wonder goals, in the reserves. But Allardyce had this bad thing about he just didn't want him to shine.
Who's that?
Wellington Paulista. He wouldn't allow him.
You're absolutely right.
To be on the first team, and
wrong manager for him. Wrong manager.
That's what I'm saying. He's the one that signed him, and he was banging in goals in the reserves, like Nathan Holland's doing right now. This is what Manuel Pellegrini is doing with Nathan Holland. He's suppressing him and his superstardom. Anyway,
Ayew scored 9 goals in 43 appearances. That's really not a bad return. It's really not. It's not that bad.
Caleri, Torre, Gokhan Torre, obviously. Zaza, I mentioned that.
Zaza for friggin' you.
He's got to make the fucking list because there wasn't.
Got to be
right
high on the list.
Yeah, I'd say at least top 5, man. We'll get into that. Hugel.
Nobody thought he was good though.
He's destroying it at QPR.
I know. But again,
he's a championship.
Probably his level.
But that's
he's a championship.
So Joe Harkey's popping up as well. That's a loan signing, but at the same time, we did have to pay a good chunk of his wages, didn't we?
Yep.
So that's technically, we're paying.
And came in. You can't get more hyped than being England's #1, and then.
Yeah. Doing horrible. Bainbridge. There's another one that I forgot about too from that relegated season.
Another guy, he was a desperation move, a guy who had been around for a while anyway. Robbie Keane.
There was so many desperation moves that summer.
That was that
winter.
January.
So basically him, Robbie Keane, and
yeah.
How How about Pablo Barrera?
Yes.
Yep. He was on the list.
He's in my
Did
top 10
nothing,
in the last 20 years.
Yep, came and then went to the Gold Cup and beat the U.S. in the finals single-handedly. Scored a hat trick against the U.S.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We got 10 minutes left. We're going to go around in the circle and mention one person that has to be in the top 10, and then we'll sift it out through there. So we'll start with Wally. Wally, name one person who has to be in the top 10 biggest frauds / busts.
It's got to be Zaza. It's got to be in there.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that, right?
No.
All right,
cool. How about this? How about, does anybody want to like push him closer up at the top 5? And then we'll sift him down, or just leave him where he is?
No, I think I've got about 5 that are.
All right, cool.
So.
We'll go to you, Jay. Jay, what do you name one person for the top 10 at least?
Well, I'm not going to say the one that we all know is probably number 1. Joe Hart.
Cool, that's a good one. Anybody disagree with that? No. All right, Lee.
I mean, we've already said so. I'll go with from his generation, the same. I think it was the same window. I'll go with Cagliari. I was excited about him, and then,
Yeah.
nothing.
I think he came in as like 4th choice striker, so I don't know if there was much expectation.
That might have been the summer we went after Baca so hard and didn't get it.
Yeah, I think it was.
But even so, I mean, the guy came in with a pedigree, and I think we paid half decent money for him, and he had, to my memory, like 0 impact. I mean, there are other guys who were worse, but he
scored once and it was bad. It was a bad goal too.
Right.
He was, for a striker, he got in positions, would miss, and then the goal he scored was awful, if I remember. We didn't pay a lot, but yeah, I could see him being on the list just for being just awful, just not good.
All right. Well, I mean, the elephant in the room, I guess, is Savio. None of us are going to have to say that because we're just going to leave that out, and we're going to keep on going around the circle here. So Savio will obviously be there. Blah blah blah. I would also, I think Beecham definitely fits that category, though. As last 25 plus years that we spent a lot of money for the time on. That was supposed to be pretty damn good. And didn't even play a single match. He got homesick, and
that's right.
For
Oxford.
Yeah, yep. he said the traffic sucked, and he didn't want to have to do that every day. So he went to was it Swindon or who was it? I forgot what we said earlier, but anyway, for like £800,000 after we paid 1.4 million for him. So 1.4 million back then was probably 5 or 10 million now, somewhere around there.
Yes.
That's a big chunk of money for someone who didn't do jack shit. So, anybody disagree with me?
No,
I'm good.
All right, cool. So let's keep going. Wally.
So I think we got to put Andy Carroll on there. Much as I
was holding off. I was waiting for someone else to say it. I'll second that. Anybody else have a problem with that?
Not given the hype. Not given the hype that's surrounding it. No, I don't have a problem with it.
Right on. Ooh, son of a bitch. Tebow in the chat room mentioned Maega.
Yeah, he's on that list.
Son of a bitch. I forgot about him. How the hell did I forget about Madibo Maega? Wow. That dude sucked. Anyway, we spent a lot of money on him. We spent money on him.
We spent a decent amount.
Yeah, I'm gonna find that out as we are going
Maybe around like $8 million.
So Jay.
Let's go TT Camara.
Ooh.
I remember so little about him that I'll believe you because I don't really remember him very well at all.
Was signed from Liverpool as a he came to not make money but to score goals and played like 18 games and scored 0 goals. So he only made money, did not score goals. So I think there was a bit of hype because he was coming from Liverpool. So
I wouldn't oppose it. Lee?
Okay, I'm going to throw one out there. That's going to be controversial. You'll probably disagree. But just for West Ham, given who he was, just for West Ham, how about Javier Mascherano?
Ooh.
For us, not when he went to Barcelona.
Was there? I mean, all right. So I wasn't really familiar. I wasn't
Maybe it was
obsessed
seven.
with the club back then. So the point is, does anybody remember? Was there a lot of hype coming in?
Oh yeah, he came
Yeah.
in with us. He came in
Yeah.
with Kevin. It was huge.
And he
They
didn't
had just put it up at the World Cup that summer.
So does he not? Yeah, I mean that sounds like a top 5 candidate for me.
He couldn't get in the team. I mean, it was shocking.
Crazy. That's crazy.
He goes off to like Barcelona and he becomes a superstar. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
Insane that he couldn't. He didn't. I don't know. I don't know why. If he didn't want to be here, you know what I mean? Who knows with these guys? But I would, go ahead.
I think certainly at the time, I don't think there were the parameters put in place that there are now. We've got that Hugo Schechter guy at the club who's in charge of settling the players in, like making them feel at home and giving them like player accommodations or whatever. And I don't think we had that in place. So I think we're taking 2 guys from Argentina and saying, here, settle in London and figure it all out for yourself.
Yeah, and they were law. I mean, Tevez was just a brilliant player who seemed to embrace West Ham, and I think even after he left, he continued to love the club, and he still speaks highly of it, and everybody loves him. But Mascherano he just never fit in, and then he went on to become a world superstar.
Yeah, I like dude, that name, man, Maega, man, that just burns me. I can't let that go, dude. We signed him for $7 million.
A lot of money at the time.
$7 million, yeah. I think that was. I don't know if that was pounds. I think it was pounds, but he scored just 4 fucking goals.
Oh, he was cack. He was horrible.
4 goals in 34 appearances. And we loaned him out to QPR, and he could only score 1 in 8. So, I don't know, man. I would say, that's tough, man. Oof. But there's so many people that we could put into the top 10. This is tough. But I don't think he'd make the top 10, but I think he's an honorable mention for sure. I'd say, I'm torn between Torre and I'll just say Torre. Gökhan Torre. Bilic praised this guy. He said he was like, the next Dean Ashton type of player.
Well, he was Turkish, right? And Bilic
because you just managed him.
Fenerbahce, I think, or Besiktas. Yeah, Besiktas.
Yeah, and boy, was he fat, huh? Jesus Christ! I think literally the only thing we could talk about in the preseason that he was with us, which wasn't really much because we had the damn Euro stuff going on. That was a debacle.
Right.
But boy, he looked fat. And he looked sluggish and just significantly overweight, and that's a problem when you play in Premier League football. Right?
No,
not to be like fat shaming or anything like that, but just saying. No. I got a belly myself. Don't worry about it. But
you can be fat though. It's not a sport where you can be fat.
How can you run that much and be that fat? I just don't understand.
I don't know. Only Ronaldo, and I don't.
Maybe he was hiding something.
Only Ronaldo. I mean, only the Brazilian Ronaldo could be chunky and be a great footballer. Which he was sometimes chunky, but
all right. So anyway, Torre is my pick. Anybody have any? Because there was some hype. We did spend a chunk of money on him.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
If you guys have anybody else, please.
The last one I got is Danny McCarthy. I think he belongs on the list.
Oh, the Doughboys, him and Torre. There you go. All right, well let's make a top 10 out of this.
Have you guys mentioned Arbeloa, the World Cup winner? Arbeloa?
We did, but we didn't pay anything for him.
Oh,
we pay wages for sure.
Yeah, but
it was a free transfer.
If the transfer fee makes a difference to me in terms of whether they were bust or not.
I think Jose Font was more of a dud.
Yes, I agree with that.
The fact that we spent a lot of money on him, and thank you, Wally, for mentioning that earlier. Some of the chart, I don't know, whatever. I'll give Wally the credit.
I mentioned Arbeloa, but I'll take the credit for Font.
Yeah.
We
lost him. We lost Jay. But anyway, let's run through this and make our top 10. So obviously Savio is number 1. Got to be. Great. Now, does Mascherano make number 2, or is it someone like? Actually, here he's back. Hold on.
I think Zaza's got to be in the top 2. Isn't Zaza? I mean, nearly up there with Savio. Doesn't he have to be? He has to be.
He's loading. There he is. So we're doing the list
Sorry.
now. So that's okay. We're doing the top 10 right now. So basically, Savio's an automatic number 1, right? Well, we all agree on that, right? So
Right.
what would you say about? So we've been bouncing back and forth. Zaza, Mascherano. Who else would be in that top 2 or 3?
Carroll, maybe.
Yeah.
Carroll.
Carroll is going to get us so much heat.
I know.
So much stick because of the. See, that's the thing. This was sucks. Like Danny and like Ilian. I mean, they scored goals for us, like a couple, but they were like game winners or they were just wonder goals or something. There was something memorable, right? Well, Andy Carroll gave us a lot of memorable goals, and a lot of fans still will never let that go, even though he just sucked money out of the club for far too long and didn't reciprocate anything. You know, he had a few, amazing games for us that we needed and performances and stuff like that. But at the same time, was it really worth the amount of money that, number one, we paid in transfer fee for him, loan fees, etc., but also his wages, man? Are you serious? Yeah. So I would absolutely be for this. I'm just saying, let's be very cautious here. Let's be very careful.
We could put it down near the bottom of the top 10. Maybe.
No, well, I mean, just win me over here. Like, do you guys really think that Andy Carroll should be top 5?
No, I don't think he should be top 5.
I'm thinking later than.
I think Kieran Dyer could be top 5 for the same reason, though. He just couldn't get off the training table.
Yeah,
he was brilliant for us.
The difference is I don't think Kieran Dyer ever scored, and so I think maybe he belongs for the table.
Yeah.
So who's second then, everybody? What's?
I think Zaza's second.
Yeah, Zaza.
Freaking Juventus, man. How on earth? He's an Italian international. How does he come to us and just totally crap the bed?
Borriella and knocked. What's his name? Noscherino. Yeah, dude. Like they were supposed to.
They were supposed to be great too. That's true.
Dude. Zaza. I mean, I don't know.
I felt as though there was a lot of hype around him, but
I put Mascherano over him. But that's just me personally. I would say like that's 2 and 3 right there.
Mascherano played 5 times for us, and I think we lost every one of those games. And all I'm saying is the guy went on to be
You're
one of
proving my point.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I would say Mascherano's like in the top 3 as a West Ham player, personally.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, what do you think, Jay? What do you think? Zaza over a Mascherano or Zaza under him? What do you think?
Well, let's put I mean, I feel for the same reason we might get heat from Mascherano, but strictly West Ham, I think Mascherano probably maybe deserves to fall to number 2. Like it's
well, the best part is there's not a whole hell of a lot of neutrals or Barcelona fans that watch this show, so it's solely like I'm assuming it's solely West Ham supporters.
He won the Champions League.
They feel cheated by him.
He won a treble with Barcelona, like as a starting player. All right, he won Champions League, the league, and the best. I mean, the guy was a superstar. He played.
Watch us bad mouthing Mascherano is going to cost Lanzini his Argentina national team spot.
Oh boy! All right, so what do we say? Number 2. Who's number 2? Mascherano or Zaza?
All right, I think Mascherano's number 2.
Zaza's automatic number 3 then, right? Yeah. We all agree. Now. I really wish, ZJ, I knew more about this TT guy, this TT Camara guy, because that sounds like a top 5 story. But
I don't remember it very well at all. That's what's so weird.
Someone from Liverpool coming over here, and Jay's not the only person that's mentioned this. There's a bunch of people on Twitter that threw his name out there as well to be on our top 10. So
I'll tell you what.
I don't know. Can you argue for him, Jay? Or try to get him top 5, or what do you think? He's top 10?
I don't know. Like in my mind, he sticks out as just like the worst player. Like whenever I've been going through my head of like the worst player, like even though like we can think of worse, Savio, obviously, we've mentioned others. Like in my head, like I've always and I never saw him play. That was really before my time. My knowledge of him comes from Kirk Blows's "Bring Me the Head of Sir Trevor Brooking" book. And he has like a whole chapter dedicated to the one goal he ever scored for our reserves, but like goes in depth about like he came from Liverpool. It was this big deal. He came to score goals, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. He was, he was a Redknapp signing. Potentially was bought with the Ferdinand money, but I don't remember. I should have done more research beforehand.
Yeah, I looked him up. Yeah, he signed on December 21st, 2000, which goes before my time, quite frankly, of really following West Ham. Yeah, I mean, it was a 1.5 million pound fee, which is at the time was a pretty hefty fee. And yes, you're right. Had scored 9 goals in 33 appearances in Liverpool, not too bad. But good Lord, the guy was already old. Anyway, he was 10 years into his career, but yeah, I mean,
He played for Saint Etienne, and you didn't even know who he was.
he played for them before I ever knew they won. Played for when I was in high school, college. He played for Saint Etienne in 1990. I mean, good Lord,
He's not a club legend over there, right?
No, I wouldn't say.
Otherwise, you would have heard of him.
No. Those were not good years in Saint Etienne either. Those were rough years.
Damn.
14 appearances for West Ham, no goals. Yeah, pretty bad. As a first striker, it's pretty bad.
Wow. It was 2 years later that he finally, cut ties with the club, though. He went on a loan to Al Ittihad.
That was pretty much his career. Yeah, that was the end of it.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I definitely think that dude, that sounds like a horrible story, man. I'd put him 5th.
All right.
All right, because it sounds horrendous. You know what I mean? And we can shift it up and down with that, but we gotta get through this somehow. So we're on number 4 right now. So somebody spit out number 4 for me. Give me a severely bad bust. Is it Ravel? Is it a
I think you could put Ravel pretty high up. Well, how about Reece Oxford or even Reece Burke? Is it unfair at this point? Reece Oxford?
Yeah. I mean, Reece Burke, there was hype around him, but nothing compared to
Nothing like Oxford was supposed
Oxford, yeah.
He had the great performance against Arsenal. He was supposed to be, he was like 16 years old, starting for the first team, and then I don't know, he just I don't know why he didn't. Again, an attitude problem, I guess. He and Ravel both.
Thoughts, guys? Wally and Jay? Anybody?
I'm good. I'm good with putting Reece Oxford at number 4 just for kind of how much of a piece of crap he is.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you, Wally.
That sounds good to me.
All right, Reece Oxford number 4, and then number 5 is TT Kamara, and now we're in the bottom half. So number 6. What are some other names that we threw out there earlier today that you feel is a definite top 10, but maybe in the higher of the bottom half?
I mean, I still think
McCarthy.
Benny McCarthy, yeah.
Benny McCarthy?
He's just so terrible. So fat.
Yeah. All right.
He was literally fired because he was so fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely overweight. Yeah.
He was probably 60 when we signed him. You know what I mean?
We never know. But,
yeah. Players, their birth certificates are a little sketchy.
They're always burnt in the fires. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the sun's too hot; it just catches fire all the time. So what is it? Benny McCarthy's number 6. Number 7. Who do we got? Does Mr. Beecham make it up there, or is he still down near the bottom of the 10? Mr. 1.4 million.
I think
didn't like the traffic to Oxford. Or was that a 7 or 8 maybe?
I mean, he never actually played for us, so yeah. And in a way, that's a tremendous bust because he never played for us at all.
Tremendous fraud.
Right,
we signed his ass for 1.4 million. He didn't like the traffic and never played a match for us.
Sort of the worst in a way because he got homesick for Oxford, which is crazy.
Yeah, and he didn't even go back to Oxford. He ended up signing for a different team.
I say put him next on the list because he never even played for us. It's a total waste of money.
All right, so that's number 7. Number 8. What do we got for number 8? Anybody spit one out?
Andy Carroll.
Oh, we didn't do Andy Carroll up top, huh? Okay, well, you know what? I think we should leave Andy Carroll for number 9 because that was a number he never should have wore.
Right.
All right, we'll leave him the designated number 9 spot. He's a definite top 10. And we all feel like he's a top 3, but
how about Maiga? I mean, I thought Tebow had a good shout with Maiga, actually.
Tebow had a great shout. And Gabe, I'm so sorry, bro. Faguli was another one of those players that was mismanaged, my man. He's a superstar. That dude, I would sign him tomorrow.
Yeah, he got injured too.
He was phenomenal touch, man. Phenomenal vision. I loved just watching him play.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he's currently turned up in Turkey. He's still a good player.
He's doing awesome. Yeah.
He's a really good player. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they won the African Cup of Nations. He was in there.
Yeah. All right. So I number 8. I give to Maiga. I definitely do because, dude, we spent a good chunk of money on him. He made us miserable, and Big Sam loved him. God knows why, and he sucked. He scored 4 goals in 30 some odd appearances. That's ridiculous. You know, that's you're talking about a striker.
Right.
That leaves Andy Carroll at number 9 and number 10. Who gets the number 10 spot? Anybody?
How about Joe Hart? Have we said Joe Hart?
Fucking Joe Hart. There you go. Number 10.
Joe Hart in there. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That's our number 10. Anybody else that we mentioned in the show earlier on definitely gets the honorable mention because, there's too many. You know, it's funny is that somebody else said that they could do a whole hour on TG Kamara, and you're right. And we'll only have an hour to do this. And sorry, but I hope you enjoyed. And listen, we don't know what the next topic is going to be, but we will announce it on Saturday. So on Saturday, we're going to announce the next topic. So you basically have Saturday, Sunday, and all day Monday to toss us your answers and try to get on the show. Tomorrow night we have Fat, Drunk, and Stupid, the Fantasy Premier League show. On Wednesday we have the the OG debate, as Wayne decided to call it, with me, Lee, and Wayne, the 3 original co-hosts here.
And the girls in Claire and Blue too, right?
That's right. So at 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is 7 p.m. UK, We Are the Girls in Claret and Blue, the
nice,
awesome West Ham women's show hosted by Allie and Reese.
Yeah,
they're having a blast doing it, so good on them. And also, it's some Wednesday or Thursday we'll have a couple more episodes of the podcasts, and then on Thursday we're going to do an interview. We do not have that confirmed yet, but we are going to have an interview show on Thursday. Friday we have a brand new show which we've been trying to present to you people. It's called Friday Night Likes. We're gonna have a moderator handing out likes based off of different topics that we're discussing. There's gonna be 3 different people. It's gonna kind of look like around the horn, but it's gonna be he's gonna be giving out likes instead of points. So and it's gonna be hosted by John Anthony, not Tony Bailey. And it's gonna be cool. So check it out. It'll be fun on Friday night. So anyway, real quick, we do have another show that's going to be coming up once a month, and we're giving you your 30-day warning. Okay? Right now, Jay, take it away.
All right. So we are going to be starting a West Ham book club. The first book that I guess I decided on with my executive decision is going to be this book right here, The Acid Test. It's Clyde Best's autobiography. It's a really interesting read. He's a heck of an interesting.
How do I make you bigger? Sorry, I'm trying to make him bigger. Oh. Sorry, man.
Here, I'll just hold it in front of my face.
There you are. All right, there we go. I figured it out. Hold it up again, so everybody can see. That's the acid test.
There you go. I want to read that. That was a good book.
This is actually a special edition. Mine signed by Clyde Best. It's a different cover. So you might see it with a different cover if you go online. But it's a really interesting read. I'm not that far in yet, but I've been meaning to crack it open for about a year now. So I hope this can be a lot of fun and we can have a lot of good discussion about it. So
I already did my homework. I already read it, so I'm
excellent.
I'm ready.
Very good.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're gonna have
extra credit for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're gonna have some interaction with the fans about that. So they'll be discussing the book live with everybody in the chat room, obviously. So that'll be kind of cool. It's just to add something different to the channel. I know we're getting a lot of feedback from West Ham readers, asking for advice on what books to read. So here you are, firsthand. And now you get 30 days to refine and read the acid test and chat about it. So anyway, that said, I'll talk to you boys off the air, but everybody else have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow night with the Fantasy Premier League show. My team sucks, but West Ham rocks. Anyway, go on, you Irons.